Hello, this is Craig Wescoe recording for TCGplayer.com, and today we're going to be playing Esper Knights in Standard. It's a list that Child of Alara 7 went 4-0 with in a league this week, and we're going to try it out. So basically the idea of the deck is to play History of Benalia on 3, and we're supposed to play Knight of Grace or Knight of Malice on turn 2, and the idea is to just deal a whole bunch of damage and get max value out of all the abilities on History of Benalia. And then, in addition to the Knights, we also have Gideon, which can be damage prevention or another resilient to removal threat. We also have the Scarab God as a way to finish out the game after the opponent has exhausted their removal spells, dealing with all of our other creatures. And it's also just a sort of card that can take over a game. Then we have one Lyra Dawnbringer. The first one is better than the second one because it's legendary. We can also get it back with the Scarab God. And for removal spells, we have a lot of those, so we can compete pretty favorably against mono red. We have Fatal Push, we have Seal Away, we have Cast Down, we have Cast Out, we have Walking Ballista, and then of course we have Gideon to prevent damage if we need to. So we have a lot of ways to deal with opposing creatures, which makes us really well set up against the red decks. We also have no creatures that die to Goblin Chainwhirler, which is another incentive to playing this deck. And we also have 3 cast out, 2 Ixalan's Bindings as answers to cards like Hazoret. So we are pretty well positioned against the best deck in the format right now, or at least by far the most played deck. And then we also have cards like Karn, which makes us much better against the heavy removal spell decks, like the control decks. And then our threats are also pretty resilient to a lot of the removal spells. So if they're holding a Seal Away, well, we attack them with their Knight of Malice. They can't target it because of hexproof from white. And if we attack with a History of Benalia token, they also can't Seal Away it because it has Vigilance. And then if they try to Fumigate, we have cards like Gideon to catch us, to keep us on board. And then we can just jam a Scarab God post Fumigate, and then the opponent has to have another removal spell, or they're just going to be dead in a couple turns. So the deck has a lot of resiliency, it is pretty well positioned right now, and I want to give it a shot. In the sideboard, we have a lot of control cards, anti-control cards, because we want to board out a lot of these removal spells like Fatal Push, Seal Away, Cast Down, things like that. And so in those situations, we bring in cards like Duress, Negate, which Child of Alara had Jace's Scrutiny. I replaced those with Negates. That was the one change I made. Figure it's a little more versatile in this metagame. We also bring in another Karn, and then we could bring in Angel of Sanctions depending on what sort of permanence they have. Vraska's Contempt, same way. And then we have more removal spells against the super aggressive decks. We have Fumigate, which is really good against the green decks. Seal Away, Settle the Wreckage, things like that. Another Cast Down, Vraska's Contempt. We also have Prevent Procession, which in the matchups that are pretty grindy but they're creature-based, this card can really take over the game. We don't have a lot of targets against a control deck, but I think that we have just enough cards in our sideboard to where we don't have to bring that in if we don't want to. Then we have Hostage Taker, because if the opponent's not expecting it, it can be a huge 3-for-1 blowout. So it's just in there, really good with Scarab God. So yeah, basically this deck, it's pretty sweet. Like I said, it's really resistant to Chainwhirler, has a lot of ways to deal with the opponent's creatures if they're the red deck, a lot of resiliency to removal spells from, say, a blue-white control deck, and a lot of ways to stay in the game with cards like Scarab God and Karn. So I want to give this deck a shot. I think it's pretty promising right now, and it's something a little different than what a lot of other players are playing right now.